If you want to crown them, then crown their ass.
Stafford down the middle is intercepted. DJ Moore.
Overthrows and intercepted for DJ Moore.
Will I see you again?
Cleveland throws and it is intercepted by DJ Moore.
Pushing up the hill, searching for the thrill of it.
Takes the snap from his own end zone, lines up, throws, in its head, it is deflected, picked up by DJ Moore, Moore to 10, 5, end zone, touchdown, touchdown Bears, DJ Moore, pick 6.
You are tuned in to the Chris and DJ Show with former Chicago Bears nickelback DJ Moore. That's right. We are back. What's going on, everybody? I'm Chris Shanafelt. He's former Chicago Bear DJ Moore. DJ, we are now officially less than a week away from the start of Bears training camp at Hallis Hall.
That's go time.
Players report July 26th. Today is July 21st. You do the math. They report on Tuesday. So football is right around the corner. The Las Vegas Raiders actually were the first team to kick off their training camp yesterday. So it feels like the season is just about here, DJ.
Yeah, and it's cool. I think that we should, since football is so big, we should restructure the year and make it New Year's. It just honestly, it just seems when football starts, the whole year it just kicks off for everything. You know what I mean? So, and then like school is normally around that time, so everything is just around that. So it has to be an exciting time for some, probably all, and scary. Because now, what does it start? Does it start at 90, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, it's in that 90. I mean, they can cut you as soon as you get there.
Yeah.
Or like when I was in Tampa Bay, they cut me like the day before camp started. Like, oh, okay. He ain't gonna let me backpedal one time. But I think it is exciting, for a lot of people. It's gonna be a lot of new faces show up and be really, really good. It's gonna be some old cats that are gonna be really, really bad, and it's gonna make some coaches' decisions. It's gonna be good and bad. So football is a bloom. It's about their bloom. That sound right?
Well, it is that time of the year where it's my favorite time of the year. There's no doubt about that. I mean, football is the number one sport that I follow. I've said recently I've become more and more of a fan of baseball. Always been a big basketball fan, but nothing compares to this time of the year when the season is getting ready to start back up. And DJ, these rosters are at 90-man rosters right now.
Okay.
Half of those guys make the active roster. I mean, we all hear about the 53-man roster. But going back to your rookie year, DJ, you'll be the first to tell us it's not 53 guys that are dressing. It's only 46, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, yeah, but it's just, I think one of the hardest things, and I don't know if people just realize it, and I think they think it's always hard for the player that gets cut. But when you build and you've been building friendships with people, and then when you see it happen, and they don't say anything to you, you just look over and you don't see them. And then you try to call them, hey, man, you late. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Shit. My bad, big homie, good luck. You know what I mean? Like, and they may pick up on another team, but again, a lot of times when they get cut from this team, that's it. So they go from 90 to 45. When you see that, whoever that cut dude, I don't know why they always make it this one person. It's like, damn, why you want to eat breakfast in here, man? You got to go eat on your own or something. So that's it really is a hard sport to get into and stay relevant in. So good luck to those guys for sure.
So our main focus for today's show will
be. You got to worry about Chris asking for autographs. Damn. Now he didn't even like you because I was tired. I was tired, man.
Oh yeah. So the main focus for today's show will be the wide receiver depth currently on the Bears. But before we get into that, DJ, one more thing on training camp and talking about cuts.
Mhm.
We've talked about the story of Greg Olson getting traded to
Okay, yeah.
Carolina. We've talked about that a couple times. Who for you though was during your playing days? Who to you was the biggest cut or the biggest surprise player that you've seen one day in Bourbonnais and then the next they're no longer there?
The Greg Olsen thing was up there because it was just so unexpected, and like he didn't know, we didn't know, and literally you walking on the hallway and he's like, "Man, I just got traded." We're looking around like it didn't make sense because he was the go-to guy. Like he was just him and Cutler. It just made sense. Now he wasn't gonna block shit, but he was out there catching that thing. So that one was really because you just didn't. That's when you really saw the business side of it. Like, oh, okay, like because he didn't even. I feel like I think he may have found out. I think he might even have found out via Twitter. Or so, you know what I mean? Like it's like, and you wouldn't even go. You know what I mean? You weren't even gonna say anything. Then it was my rookie year. It was a guy. I can't even remember his name. I remember he was a lineman. He had red hair. Black dude. That's why I remember the red hair. But I think he came in the camp overweight, and like literally, he went in the weigh-in overweight. He was gone. I was like, wow. And then we had one, and it's normally like the younger cats too. I think we flew. It might have been in Minnesota, and we talked about Minnesota before. No, they weren't Minnesota. No, it was a preseason, so it could have been like Cleveland. I know we always did the whole Cleveland deal, right. So I'm gonna just say that I think it was Cleveland. So when we got there, they cut him like on the plane, and like he didn't even leave the airport. He like flew back. It's like I can't even get somebody for your spot. So why can't I just play this one out? You know what I mean? Like that just upsets you, I think, a little bit.
Especially if you're an unproven young player still trying to, fight for a roster spot, not only on this team, but, you're putting out tape for all 31 other teams as well.
Don't let me fly then. You know what I mean? Like, why am I just...
Yeah, that's the ultimate tease right there.
Oh, my word. Let me see. No, it wasn't nothing really other than the Greg Olsen one that was surprising.
This one may not be a huge surprise, but because he was an undrafted player, he was a defensive lineman. I think you were still on the team. Mario Addison ended up turning into a damn good player. And I remember he was flashing all preseason long. He actually made the active roster, and I think he made the team for like the first 6-7 weeks and then ultimately got released and turned into a damn good player for both the Panthers and the Bills.
Yeah.
Not that he was a huge surprise.
Yeah.
But he was
no. He was really good. And I think what was happening, I think he was a little bit undersized too. And it wasn't even really that because he was really good. It was at that time we had like
a stacked defensive line.
It was stacked. So I think, he would have played and contributed, and like you said, he's gone on to contribute to a lot of other teams. So it's just one of those. Now we had no joke. We had one of the best players I ever seen. It had to be like week 8. He came from somewhere. He was a receiver, and I think I told you this before. He was the best receiver I have ever seen, and he's at fucking practice. Like you gotta gear up. Like he's a problem. And he came he came probably for like a week or two, and then they cut him. And I think he may have ended up in Baltimore. He ended up somewhere playing because there was like he was fucking awesome. Like you just say, hey man, I don't know what, and you just get like, man, like what the hell going on with this cat? Like this doesn't make any sense. I've seen some guys that are awful. He is not. And that's really the hard thing about like camp and stuff too.
You don't remember his jersey number or nothing, do you?
Nah, at practice it was 16. I don't know what it was when he went, because I don't even remember him getting to it. It wasn't long. I don't know if somebody like picked him up like he was good. but you'll see young cats because you'll get to camp and the young cats, you'll talk to the older guys like, hey man, like what you think? Like what's your likelihood? I remember a linebacker asking me, and I'm like, hey man, I'll be honest with you, like, I mean, it's Briggs and you got Urlacher who ain't going nowhere. You got damn, was it Ewu?
Nick Roach.
Ewu. Roach was really good, really fundamentally sound. We had Pino
Samoa.
Hey, listen, he was by far the best linebacker that I've seen. By far, he was awesome, and he was a cool cat. Like
former guest of the podcast years back when he was on the Bears. Believe it or not.
Listen, he's just a real nice dude. By far, the most skilled linebacker I've seen. Urlacher, Briggs, I promise you, he was awesome, man. I don't know if he got like hurt or something. I don't know what, like he was just to see him like it. Well, he was real good. But most time you'll see cats get cut where it's like, but again, it's like you getting paid a certain amount, or you know what I mean. It's a whole like numbers game, so it's hard to stick though. So, yeah.
It's going to be interesting next month as we kind of see where this Bears roster lays. And with that, we'll just go ahead and jump into our first main topic of today's show, DJ, and that's focusing on the wide receivers of the Chicago Bears, 2022 Bears. And it's been a much discussed topic for this team, probably the number one position group, maybe besides the offensive line that's been discussed in this offseason. And I'll pull up the names right here. It's a pretty crowded room here. Currently, you got Darnell Mooney, who's obviously a lock to make the team. Byron Pringle on a one-year deal, but that was kind of one of their bigger free agent acquisitions. Velus Jones Jr., rookie third-round draft pick, who is I have some pretty high expectations for him this season, and his role will be interesting. We'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later.
What are you talking about?
Number 3, Velus Jones Jr. That's the rookie third-round draft pick from Tennessee by way of USC. Equanimeous St. Brown coming over from the Green Bay Packers on a one-year deal. Couple veterans here now. Dante Pettis. He had a really big rookie season with San Francisco about 3-4 years ago. Hasn't been able to stay healthy. Early on, though, here in OTAs, he's been one of the standouts at the position. Tajay Sharp coming over. He's been bouncing around now. Last year, he was with Atlanta, former draft pick of the Tennessee Titans. N'Keal Harry, and this is a guy we're going to talk a little bit more in depth as well. They recently traded a 2024 7th-round draft pick for this guy. He's a former first-round draft pick of the New England Patriots. Then you got Isaiah Coulter, who was with the team at one point last season, a late addition late in the season. Nasimba Walker, same thing. He's more of a kick return specialist. Same goes for Daz Newsome, who was a 6th-round pick last year. David Moore, talked about him, unfortunately, a couple weeks ago, getting in some trouble. Former Seahawks wide receiver. Yeah. And then you got Chris Fink, who former Notre Dame wide receiver, who spent some time with San Francisco. And then you got an undrafted free agent, Kevin Shaw. And that's not misspelled. That's 2 A's there at the end of his name. Kevin Shaw from Liberty University. His college quarterback was, of course, Malik Willis, who went in the 3rd round to the Tennessee Titans. I'll pull that list up back up in just a second. But so that's the list of the Bears wide receivers as we know it right now. Heading into training camp, again, players report here on Tuesday. And really, I think there's only 3 surefire wide receivers that are guaranteed to make this roster, and that's the first 3 names that were on that list, in my opinion. Mooney, Pringle, Jones Jr. And I think from there on, it's kind of a fight for your own, and I think it truly is a battle for.
What about Neal? I mean, now Neal. If I traded for him, he has to be.
You think? So the story was that the Patriots were going to cut N'Keal Harry And I
Oh,
think the
okay.
Bears just wanted to jump in front and not have to deal with the waiver process. So they said, all right, they didn't even give up a 2023 seventh round pick. They gave up a 2024 seventh round pick. So I don't know if he's necessarily guaranteed to make the roster, but he certainly does have a chance.
Well, if I give up, I mean, because you don't know who that 7th round pick could be. You know what I mean?
Right.
Potential. It could be Tom Brady. But you would imagine that he would be in the mix. I wouldn't imagine if I traded for you. Like, I can't look that, and especially like, well, I want to compete with people. Like, no, like if I go out there on a limb to make the trade, like we gotta make me as a GM, a new GM, we gotta make this one happen.
So he's got to be in the mix, DJ.
Oh,
but how much do you look at what he did or lack thereof in New England? And I mean, unless Luke Getsy, the offensive coordinator, was just in Ryan Poles' ear, like, hey, we gotta go out and get this guy. I really think I can unlock his potential. With that said, he does have potential. I mean, he was a former first-round draft pick, albeit number 32 overall, for a reason. And I remember being a fan of his at Arizona State. Bigger-bodied wide receiver, 6'4", 220 pounds. Not a burner, but not slow by any means. Ran a 4.5. There's actually been some chatter, and maybe this will give him more of an opportunity or a better opportunity to make the squad. There's been some chatter. I don't know how true it is or not, but some have suggested maybe, just maybe, they could change him to tight end. Which, I mean, after Cole Kmet, that's kind of a free-for-all in itself.
That's an interesting scenario. I mean, if you could. Now, again, depending on what offense you run, if you split him out wide all the time, he's just a receiver. So I'm not sure if that'll work. Honestly, that's why we should have put that list up. We need Cole Kmet. But again, if you can put a big body in the slot that give the quarterback just some relief, throw it to him. Like, that's a big body. Because most DBs on the average, if he's 6'4", 220, most DBs on average are going to be 5'9", 5'10" on average. Now, I know they have bigger ones, but on average, and even the bigger ones normally about 6'1", that's a big dude. But I think when he got to New England, he was hurt a lot too, right?
He did miss some time due to injury.
Yeah, and I think a lot of receivers, it seems like they struggle if they can't grasp whatever the playbook is. It seems to be complicated, but once Tom Brady left, it seems like everybody is struggling in New England. So,
yeah, no doubt.
So I think for him, it's upside because, I mean, somebody don't believe in you. Somebody traded for you. So hopefully you rejuvenated, because to be honest with you, even though it's like, okay, Mooney is the number one receiver, he's not that prototypical size guy you want at the number one spot. And to me, like, I think he'll be the number one by targets, but I feel like the number one receiving spot is up for grabs. Like, if you can be big and fast and get and be out there on that island, like, there's an opportunity here.
No, there is absolutely.
Oh my goodness!
I think Mooney will take that and run with it. Just knowing, going back to last year, Justin Fields' rookie season and the work they're doing after practice and even outside of the building, and it seems like they got a really close friendship. So I mean, it seems like all stars align that Mooney will be that guy. But as you said, it's not guaranteed. It's not solidified just yet. I mean, Mooney still has some things to prove himself, and obviously he's on his way. First 2 years he's been great. So we'll see if he can overtake that number one wide receiver spot. I don't know how much you believe in Pro Football Focus, DJ, but the grades are out after this acquisition of N'Keal Harry, and according to Pro Football Focus, the highest graded run blocking wide receivers during the 2021 NFL season, number one was Byron Pringle, and number two was N'Keal Harry. So this could also be looked at as acquisition to boost up the run game with David Montgomery and, of course, Khalil Herbert.
Nah, fuck that. No, excuse my English. Fuck that. But no, I mean, you want receivers who can block. But again, can I get open? And what I'm saying by Mooney is the number one receiver, but when you had like an Allen Robinson, even though Mooney was kind of the targeted guy, here's somebody I can throw it to, they're gonna go and get it.
Right.
If I'm in trouble, go and get it, a security blanket. Because if it's not the tight end, or if it's not one of them receivers that look kind of like a tight end, like we gotta you have to have that blanket. And with Mooney, it's like he's a home run hitter. It's just not a security blanket. It's like, hey, just go. We can get it to you. You can do all this stuff. But it's like, hey, can I throw it? I just need a big body. And if I'm in trouble, if I throw it back shoulder, just throw it up. Here we go. So
there was some plays specifically against Jalen Ramsey his rookie year. I remember him making a pretty nice diving catch and a catch that he almost came down with, a leaping catch where he kind of had a body. Jalen Ramsey, obviously, he didn't come down with it. But now I'm not saying he's going to be the next Antonio Brown, but, not many thought Antonio Brown was going to be capable of being a true number one wide receiver until obviously he became a number one wide receiver.
I'm not saying he's not the true number one. I'm just saying we're just tight end or big receiver. You just need somebody who just can. He
doesn't have that prototypical side.
Now, he may be able to go up and get it, but my thing is speed. Now again, you gonna have some highlights. I'm sure he can jump out of the gym. If you play football and you squat as much as people squat, it's like why can't football players can jump? Shit, damn near all of them. Like you do this type of thing all day long. So I think he's gonna be good, but I just think there has to be a yin and yang. I mean, a wax on and wax off. There got to be something else.
Here we go. Here we go with the wax.
Come on now. You know what I mean? Come on now. Deshaun Jackson was the go-to guy, so that's would be his kind of comparison. But it's like, shit, you needed two people up top because he hauling ass. Like he's running, he's that type of guy. So again, or Tyreek Hill is like, hey man, you need some space because he's moving now.
We're gonna have to change your name tag on here to Mr. Miyagi. Wax on, wax off here.
Mr. Moragi.
There you go.
Mr. Moragi. So when you're looking at it, I say, okay, you say Moon is number one. Damn. I'm gonna just go Neal. Neal gonna be in the mix. You got Pringle from Green Bay that he's comfortable with the offense. What number was Pringle again at Green Bay?
I think it was 13. Was it 13?
Oh, okay. I didn't watch too many of the game. I seen one or two of them. But you said he has the speed, correct?
Oh yeah.
I remember St. Brown is a smaller guy in the slot.
No. So that would be Pringle. St. Brown is the one coming from Green Bay, who's the bigger 6'5" wide receiver. Didn't get a lot of opportunities in Green Bay. They're saying that Rodgers just didn't trust him in certain positions. Obviously, when they're down bodies at receiver, he was out there. But coming from, I remember being familiar with his game coming out of Notre Dame, and I had a lot higher expectations for him coming out than what he ended up proving to be.
I just gotta find your play. But again, this list and other than the one at the top, really, damn, it's a lot of. You don't get these many opportunities, man. Like to have a receiving core where you don't know anybody.
Yeah.
Receivers. It seems like they drafting all pro receivers every single year. Okay, let's see. Hey, that's gonna be that's gonna be interesting to see how that develops.
So I think a name here that maybe a lot of people aren't too familiar with, Dante Pettis. I think if he's able to stay healthy, he was a big time playmaker his rookie year. Even his part of his second year before he got injured in San Francisco, he was a really dynamic player for the San Francisco 49ers early on. Last year, last year he flashed a little bit with the Giants before getting hurt. I think he actually scored his one and only touchdown last season. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was against the Chicago Bears. Go figure. But he's a former second-round draft pick. I think he was actually chosen, not that this player showed too much here in Chicago, but he was same draft class as Anthony Miller. But it just seems like not able to stay healthy. and 49ers ended up getting rid of him. Spent the last couple of years with the Giants. Again, hard time keeping healthy, and here he is now. It almost seems like this might be his last opportunity, or certainly if it is, I don't think you could ask for a better one. At least that's what it sounds like here, right, DJ?
Yeah, to be honest, man. Like normally you coming when I got drafted, you come into a situation where like, hey, they don't like one of the veteran guys, but man, you gotta like show up, show out. Like you got Hall of Famers here and this person here and this and this. Like, is there a spot? Not really, but hopefully you can carve you out one. So hopefully my question is, and I don't know how much you know about this. Now, the offensive coordinator is
Luke Getsy coming over from Green Bay.
Is it going to be a mirror? So is he saying that it's a mirror image, or was that offense more of, what is it, LaFleur? Is that more of a LaFleur offense and his offense is different? Or was that his and that's what he's bringing?
Right. So supposedly it's supposed to mirror the Shanahan offense, which is pretty much what LaFleur has implemented and has been using there in Green Bay. Obviously, I'm sure being a play caller, you're probably adding your own little wrinkles and changes to certain plays and styles of plays that are being called. But from all I know, and again, Luke Getsy has never. This is a big promotion for him. He was quarterbacks coach before this, and obviously, if you're going to be with a Kyle Shanahan or a LaFleur, those guys they're the head coach, yes, but they're calling their own plays. Obviously, that's what they're there for.
Yeah.
So now coming to the rival Chicago Bears, big promotion, offensive coordinator and head coach. Of course, Matt Eberflus is kind of like how Nagy did with Vic Fangio in the defense years ago. Eberflus said, "Hey, now he's going to be a head coach. He's going to be in the offensive meeting rooms, the defensive meeting rooms, but he's leaving the offensive play calling duties to Luke Getsy, obviously. So there's going to be a lot on Luke Getsy's table. Hopefully it translates.
So when you say Shanahan and Cal and his dad, so this is like the what's his name? The John Elway, Terrell Davis.
Like a West Coast.
So a lot of what was the name? Gary Kubiak had the same type of offense. Oh, okay, yeah. So it's the stretch zones and stuff, and you look for lanes, and then all right. I'm just trying to get my football mentors back together. Okay, that whole thing. Well, because in Green Bay they did have some dynamic. They've had some dynamic running backs. Now I don't know because if they drafted them or it's because like this offense is set up the way it's just like. They just look like they just running downhill. And I don't know if it's the offensive line is blocking really well, but I know when you have that zone and everybody's doing this, because on defense, it almost takes away you trying to penetrate it because you got to make sure you keep your gap because they can cut, any one of those lanes. So hopefully that it should do better. I think it should do good though with Montgomery. And as long as he's healthy, and then, well, again, man, that offensive line.
Right.
Yeah, well, it'll be good.
If you ask me, there's a free agent that's still out there that I think that they should give a phone call to. He was on this team last year, and that's 40-year-old Jason Peters, future Hall of Famer. He was awesome last year here. He was by far the best offensive lineman they had on this team last year. Not saying that's a great thing, not saying that's what you want, but you got a young quarterback who this is your franchise quarterback as of now. Obviously still unproven, but as of now, this is your franchise quarterback. Go get Jason Peters while you're still unsure of who your starting five. I don't even know if they know who 4 of their starting offensive linemen are going to be heading into this season, DJ, let alone 5.
Yeah.
So
he ended his season. He's injured, correct?
Yeah, he did. He got a little banged up. He was on a radio interview yesterday or this morning, and he said that, he's been training, he's staying healthy. I think he's kind of taken that, and hey, again, future Hall of Famer, 40 years old, been in the league for, well over a decade. I think he's taking the veteran way out of skipping, the OTA process and probably a portion of training camp. And who knows, maybe Ryan Poles and the Bears already have a contract set aside, and come week 2 of the preseason, that'll Jason Peters will sign the dotted line.
Hey, when you know how to do it, you know how to do it. But normally when he's healthy, honestly anything can help, because really, I mean, it's not going to take a lot of money at all. So if I can kick the tires on it, hey, we might have to make something happen. Now again, it's good to let the young cats get in there and play and kind of figure it out. But at some point, if it isn't working, hey, you're gonna have to protect them if you believe in them. Now, if you don't believe in them, man, let them get killed.
So, and in that interview, and I mean, you don't really expect to hear anything different, but Jason Peters did say that once the Bears solidify the offensive line, that they do have a true playmaker and a franchise quarterback in Justin Fields. So, again, do you really expect to hear anything different from a teammate, or at least as of now, a former teammate? Probably not. But if there was somebody that were to speak against a teammate, let it be a future Hall of Famer like a Jason Peters. So that was nice to hear. Hopefully he's back with the Bears if he is suited up for a franchise this coming season. Speaking of Justin Fields, DJ, speaking of Chicago Bears quarterback Justin Fields, ESPN predicts that the Bears quarterback will lead the league in interceptions this coming season. I'm not really sure how somebody could really even predict that, or a company can actually go out and say, hey, yeah, we think this guy is going to lead the league in this or that, or, so take it for what it's worth.
Well,
but, I think you're just
go ahead. I'm sorry.
So for me, honestly, and I know he threw 10 interceptions last season. To me, DJ, it's the fumbles that I'm more concerned about than the actual. I think his decision making, it wasn't great by any means, throwing the ball at all times. But if there's one or the other that I'm more worried about, it's the fumbles, man. If he holds on to the football, if he's, I'd rather him work on the holding on to the football, the problems that he had last year. Keeping 2 hands on the ball. Now, I think he did get lucky. I think he recovered of the 10 forced fumbles, 10 fumbles he had last year, DJ. He recovered 6 of those. I don't think you're going to get lucky every season in that matter. So if I'm worried about one of the 2 turnover factors, interceptions or fumbles, it's the fumbles for me.
Well, I understand what you're saying. And I'm not coming at the perspective of which one to worry about. Just, if you keep the ball, you keep it. And just thinking, like, how could they come to it? And just like, well, if you look at it, if my offensive line is young, you won't have any block. If my receivers are no-name receivers, they won't be open. So every window you throw into is damn near going to be closed. And if you throw it in the closed windows, you tip the ball up in the air, they tend to lead to interceptions more. More times than not. I wouldn't say he wouldn't lead the league just because of the legs he has. You have, and I know he's in. You just have to use him. You just have to. So if he uses his legs and runs and not think like, hey man, I gotta throw the ball. Like, no man, I don't need you close. I need you approaching. I ain't gonna say 1,000. That's a little much, but maybe 700. That sounds about right. And if you can get that, I think I think it just makes everything just easy, because you're a threat on each and every play.
And being in this type of offense, obviously, I don't think I think everyone's expecting them to be a run-first offense. I think that'll only make his legs an even bigger weapon when he does drop back and is throwing the ball and nothing is open downfield.
Well, yeah. We just can't get him sacked 9 times. Guess we just can't play Cleveland, I guess. But I mean, it's going to be interesting, because if the run game can work, because if you watch San Francisco, they made it. They was almost in the Super Bowl because of running. They put a receiver at running back. Like it's all about running and playing defense. Now, Eberflus has his work cut out for him. He ain't gonna be able to pay attention to offense because it's like, man, expectations in Chicago is to play defense. And I think the last time, who was the last time? What was the guy? I think he came. Didn't he come from Bama? Who was the defensive coordinator that came from Alabama? We struggled really bad that year.
Oh, Mel Tucker?
Yes.
So he came from Jacksonville and then went to Chicago. And then after Chicago, he went to Bama.
Okay. So.
And now he's doing awesome as head coach at Michigan State.
Yeah, but that honestly, that is the thing though. Like if I don't have the pieces sometimes, it's a struggle. So because as of now, you got Jackson at safety struggling a little bit, and if he doesn't play as well, you just pretty much drafted his replacement, so he may or may not make it through. You got Quinn, who even his first
he
struggled.
Still holding out.
Yes, he struggled. He struggled real bad that first year, and then came on, a lot. But there's nobody opposite him. You got the middle linebacker who's been up and down or just mentally weird, I guess at times it seems. Roquan been on a row. You got the cornerback who I think he's done fine, but again, when there's less pressure, it's just you got to guard people for a long period of time, and it's going to be interesting. But even with
Jalen Johnson, he's really good. I think he is really good, but I think he feels like he's a lot better than he actually is, at least as of now. I'm not saying he can't turn into a
that is fine. I think the rookie year put the confidence way up there, and then again, you'll just go up and down, at times. So hopefully this year will be a bounce back because in the division, to be honest with you, there's not many receivers. No, I mean, name receive maybe Jefferson and Minnesota. There's not many that with Adams gone. I mean, it's not right. I mean,
yeah, you got Jefferson and Thielen in Minnesota. Thielen was banged up quite a bit last year, though.
Yeah.
Green Bay, yeah, I mean, you got Adams is gone. They drafted a second-round wide receiver, Christian Watson. Again, that's a rookie. We've seen what Jamar Chase was able to do last year as a rookie, and then obviously Jefferson his rookie season. So can't totally look the other way on that one. But other than that, Allen Lazard in Green Bay, and then Detroit actually drafted Jameson Williams. Expect he'll miss the first chunk of the season. I think he tore his ACL in college. And then they also got DJ Chark from the Jacksonville Jaguars, who tore his ACL last year. So I'm not exactly sure what the timetable is looking like for him. But no, you're right. I mean, it's not like we've seen a lot worse, or I guess I should say better wide receivers in the NFC North. I mean, looking at Detroit, obviously Megatron, and I remember Golden Tate, and recently they had Marvin Jones. Obviously, Green Bay is Green Bay.
Yeah. Driving, what, and da. Like, God damn, they everywhere. So hopefully, I think defensively, if he can kind of step up, I think it'll make the defense better because it's just gonna be interesting. And like really, this is a weird place because for the whole team, it just seems like coach, like, what about the coach? I don't know. GM, I don't know. Quarterback, I don't know. Defense, I don't really know. Everything, like when I say everything seems to be I guess other than the kicker, everything seems to be a question mark. And then when I just said that, I feel like I jinxed myself. But again, everything, you know what I mean? Like everything is just like, just wait and see. And I think it makes it exciting, but it also makes it nervous because you just don't know. Now, if he struggles, and that's what I'm looking forward to, just camp. Like if he struggles against this defense at camp.
Now, who's he? Fields?
Yes. That is a concern. Now, again, they should, if you would assume if somebody's getting the best of somebody, I would think it would be, to me, the offense. Especially when the quarterback can't get hit. But to struggle against a defense that's kind of trying to, find themselves, to me, that would be a big deal.
Yeah, and as you said, there's a lot of new faces. I mean, there's a lot of familiar faces with Eddie Jackson and Roquan Smith, and not to mention they're learning a new defense as the offense is learning a new offense as well. But a lot of new faces, especially on that defensive side of the football. So it'll be interesting to see how things stack up here. Again, players report July 26th, so we're just 5 days away from that. Now, whether or not Justin Fields will lead the league in interceptions, I don't know. I think that was just ESPN kind of looking for a reaction out of a big market like Chicago. So, anyways, but
What you got to do?
I mean, the weapons he has, I could see it being a question, I guess, or a possibility. Just just looking at overall weapons, and here are one more time the wide receivers going into camp here. A lot of bodies, a lot of names that might be your first time hearing some of these names, like a Chris Fink, again, former Notre Dame Fighting Irish wide receiver, spent a little time with San Francisco last year. DJ, if you had to guess, how many of these wide receivers? You don't even need to give me names if you don't.
No, I don't have names really.
But how many receivers are they keeping come opening day?
Probably 6. So I guess you would have pretty much 4 or maybe 5 kind of in rotation. The 6th one is going to be probably just a hard-nosed special teams type of cat that can go down on kickoffs and be a gun or something like that. So I think that's about the number, right? Is that a accurate maybe number? Maybe 6, 7?
Yeah, 5,
Could
6.
be. I thought it was like number around like 6. But I would assume 6 of them. So again, some of them already is like, oh, you already know, hey, I'm here for special teams. This is what it is. And I guess you consider the receiver, but it's like you just go hit something. I would say Mooney. You said Pringle. I'm gonna go Neal. Yes. If you came from Green Bay and you didn't get an opportunity, but he wanted you, I would say Brown. Yes. You said Jones was from where again?
Oh, rookie 3rd round pick, so he'll likely make
Yes,
it.
he shouldn't. Yeah, if you're a 3rd round pick, he should be there. Now again, dressing out or not. You said Pettis is showing. Now again, it could be a battle between him and Neal, like who shows a little bit more. Moore got in trouble. And I don't really know many of the others. So, and again, they could flash, and be honest with you, they could be really good, and we not know it. And then also, I mean, you still have time. You got a holdout, so you could, hey man, if you want a defense end, give me a receiver. So because at this point on defense, it seems like we're rebuilding anyway. So we still got opportunity. We got a safety for sale too. So it's it can look a lot different over training camp, and even seeing other teams falling out low with some of their players and people getting released surprisingly. So, but with this group, so 6, I think 6 or 7, 6, and depending on if you're really good at special teams, because normally you had them extra DBs and extra maybe linebackers that's really fast and just can't process information. Just go down there and just gotta have them, man. Got to have them.
Got to, man. It's a game of 3 phases: offense, defense, and special teams. And obviously, being here in Chicago, we know all about the impact, good and bad, special teams could have on a game. So again, July 26th, players report to not Bourbonnais, but Lake Forest, Hallis Hall, and training camp is right around the corner. DJ, something I've been wanting to keep up with this, one segment I wanted to keep up with this, and we haven't done it in a couple weeks now, but it is the Throwback Thursday segment of the week. And, some of these segments might be, it might highlight you. It might have nothing to do with you.
Okay.
I figure a couple weeks ago, we, of course, talked about your rookie card here.
Yeah.
I figure we'll keep that theme and bring up a play. I was randomly watching 2010 Chicago Bear highlights, and that season was just had some remarkable games, and send the check in the mail, DJ. But time and time again, here you were making plays, and I thought this was one of the best plays I've seen from your career. And we'll go ahead and just play it right here.
Now back home, where he played his high school ball, where he's raised as well. This is not the way he thought of the homecoming going. Israel Adonijah tips the ball in the air, and DJ Moore takes the easy pick six, 54 yards to the house. Moore's third interception of the season. The Bears.
Now I'm going to play it one more time. Watch closely, audience. This is a strip sack, which McNabb tries to get the ball off, it looks like. And I think it was Adonijah tips it down, and you're able to.
Well, the thing was, I forgot, it might have been, we had a play call, I think it was Viking, because we only had a couple where I just came off the edge. So I squeezed down, I come off the edge, and the good thing was, because with love, it's always about turnover. So I'm trying to come around and go. So if I hit the ball, he probably would have just tugged it. And because I didn't get the ball, he tried to throw it. And it was really one of those, hey, man, you probably should go to the lottery. And it's hard because normally once the ball is deflecting, for whatever reason, I look up and like, oh, man, like it's like really, that's like right there. You know what I mean? And these will be some of them plays where it's really easy and you'll just miss it. But, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to play one more time. Really.
Back home, where he played his high school ball, where he's raised as well. This is not the way he thought of the homecoming going. Israel Adonijah tips the ball in the air, and DJ Moore takes the easy pick six, 54 yards to the house. Moore's third interception of the season. The Bears.
Look when you go. Look how easy I threw. I treated him like a baby. Did you see me like just lay him down?
Right. That's almost like hit stick worthy on Madden.
That one, the messed up part about this was because I should have had two. So we I think we either punt somewhere and then we like back them up. And I can remember this play because I came to the side and Lovey was like, "Oh yeah, you're about to get another one." But I remember the play because it's I think it was it's Moss. What's his name?
Santana?
Yeah, I think so. He fast as hell.
Yeah, number 8.
He's doing like a hookup. And I disguise it like I'm running the blitz and drop out. And as soon as I drop out, I don't even know if I see him. I just read it and I take off. And I pick it. It had to be maybe, it wasn't long after that. Boom, I celebrate. And then they called a play because they said, oh, it was a delay of game. So it didn't count. I said, oh my goodness.
You know what?
Really
yeah, you're right. I remember watching this, it was like a 4 or 5 minute video of the entire game highlights. And they said that not very often are you going to be the offense is going to be helped out in that fashion. That McNabb wasn't even aware that it was delay of game, so he thought the play was good. And then
listen, but again, it was at 0. So normally it's supposed to be a time where you go 0. They're supposed to be able to see 0 and then look back. Man, that shit, it was good. Like, come on. But no. Those when those games are always surprising because you would see McNabb and you're like, man, I grew up like watching you be awesome. Right. And then when you like in it is like,
basically since he left Philadelphia, it wasn't a very
it was interesting ordeal. Yeah. But that was probably my 2010 was probably I would say my best season because I listened more than anything and I try hard. I try to tackle. I try to do it all. Anything Lovey said, I was okay. I'm good. And then the year after that, I did fine. I would always catch interceptions and always make plays, but I was like, man, I ain't tackling shit. So yeah, but that was because I had to do something that year. After my rookie year, sit on the bench, I had to do something. Come on now. Chris asking for your autograph, you don't want to give it to him. You got to make up for it. Come on, babe.
So, and it was watching that play had me go and look up some Israel Adonijah highlights because I always thought he was probably one of the more, I don't know if underappreciated is the right term, maybe underrated though. I always thought he was really good, and I felt like he was almost like a one of those Swiss Army pocket knives in terms of
honestly, he really was.
Because he would block punts, block field goals. I feel like I remember seeing him play both inside and outside on the defensive line. Key special teamer, right? I mean, how often do you see defensive
Yeah,
line?
he was really good. And he did do a lot of stuff. He really did.
Yeah, and it looked like he was almost keeping up with you there, running to the end zone.
Oh yeah, I never been fast, man. I don't know what his foot speed is, but you ain't got to worry about him catching me because I mean, if he catch me on my team, just push me into the end zone. So he just run and catch. Ain't nobody there to chase you. Just
Yeah. I mean, is that as a defensive back, is that one of the best feelings? Whether it's a pick six, a fumble recovery for being able to score a touchdown, and you scored a few off the top of my head. I remember a pick six against Cam Newton in the Panthers his rookie season at Soldier Field as well. Is that one of the best feelings? Being able to score a touchdown on the defense side of the ball?
Yes. And really just touching the ball. I think when you on defense, if you touch the ball or catch the ball, I mean, it really is a good game. Especially catching it. In my head, I was always on, if I can get an interception, it made me feel good for the rest of the day because I knew like you don't get them often. I'm averaging like 4 a year or whatever. But again, like you got 16 games, like you don't – these things are hard to come by. So when you can turn them into points, and that's all we ever talked about. It was like if the defense scores, it's like a 97% chance that you win. You know what I mean? If you score twice, it's this much. And we was always big about, turnover margin. And even when I would meet with Lovey, he would tell me the story every single day. It was like it got on my nerves. It was Aeneas Williams. Hey man, he said, I ever told you the story about Aeneas Williams.
And there's like the 32nd time they
the first one. I'm like, okay, no, I know who he is. He gonna say, okay, his 40-yard dash with this and this. It was a good story because the speed and stuff was like comparable. It's like, oh yeah, he's slow. Yeah. I get what you're saying. All right, whatever. So every time he catch an interception, he run to the touchdown. He was a godly man, you know what I mean? He do his whole God thing, and he would just do it every single time. And he's saying, well, in practice, he was catching so many picks, they didn't want him to be tired, so they would move practice up so he didn't have to run as far or whatever. So now I think the first day I caught an interception, and he looked at me like, oh, okay, I got it. Boom. So I get down, and I'm jogging back. He looks down like, what you doing? Like, you got to come back. You got to do the next play. I'm like, because normally when you get a pick, you would just come out or whatever. So it was really just me. Like, if you get it, you got to come back. So now it's like, all right. So we get it. If you got to run 100, you run it, boom, you come back. You back in, ready to go. But it's just so happening so much. It's like in the game, it was just like, and it's kind of funny, but then every day he would do it. Man, I ever tell you this story and like literally would tell it the whole thing verbatim. And it's kind of funny because if I ever talk to kids or something, and if I have an opportunity to like pass it along, it's like, hey man, like you just gotta work. And if you can work and just keep doing it, it just comes second nature to you. So even when I got to Carolina in preseason, it's like, boom, pick, gone to the crib. It's just like this is what it is. And I think all the great players were like, were like that too. Like just stories of like T.O. and like what he do? He just run, go, come back. Steve Smith, I played at Carolina, was like that, just catch a 2-yard pass on you, act like he won a Super Bowl. He was intense, like, oh shit, like damn, it's 2 yards, man. Like what is this? So it was always cool, man.
Yeah, no doubt.
I again, tell that story every time now.
Again, so a sack fumble for a touchdown against Donovan McNabb, who was, as they said on the video, making his return to Chicago. From Chicago, went to Mount Carmel High School. And again, that video was courtesy of Fox Sports. Probably already going to get hit with the copyright infringement, but just don't come after me. Don't come after my pockets. I'll give you DJ's contact information. He'll handle it.
Yeah. I think so. Once But once you cite your source, I think you're good though.
That's it. Had to make sure I dropped that in there. Fox Sports.
Yeah, cite your source. You know what I mean?
Let's say one more time. That's courtesy of Fox Sports. Again, hell of a play though, and just I know that team.
APA MLA format.
That team had some great names. Obviously, the Urlacher, Briggs, Tillman, yourself, Idonije. So always fun to go back and watch highlights of those teams, and came across that video. Had to play it on today's Throwback Thursday moment of the week. And before we wrap up the show, DJ, quickly going around the NFL, Eddie Goldman at age 28 has decided to call it a career. This comes just 2 weeks after signing with the Atlanta Falcons, who seems like they have, 6, 7 different former Chicago Bears. Maybe he got to Atlanta and he's seen a lot of the same faces and said, nah, can't do this anymore. So called it a career. But in all seriousness, former second-round draft pick, along with him and Eddie Jackson, you could say these are two of the better draft picks that Ryan Pace made when he was here in Chicago. Total of 175 tackles, 13 sacks, 2 fumble recoveries, 1 pass deflection in his career here in Chicago. Most notably, biggest play he probably made off the top of my head was a safety. He got to Jared Goff on a cold, wintry night in Chicago. It was the 2018 season, so the year that they acquired Khalil Matt Nagy's first year here, so the year that they won the NFC North. It was a safety by Eddie Goldman on Jared Goff in the end zone. Just overall solid player, really good player at his peak. And then unfortunately, and maybe it would have went this way even without COVID, but he sat out the 2020 season with his concerns of COVID, came back in 21, didn't really seem like the same player. And again, now entering 2022, signs with the Atlanta Falcons 13 days ago, calls it a career. Just thought that we had to mention that though, because there's a lot of people that are like shitting on this guy on social media saying, oh, he wasn't really worth much here in Chicago, which I totally disagree with. I think
and I know I'm gonna get on social media. I'm gonna try to reach out to him really and see if we can get him on the show. I just want to, because to get in somebody's mind, because I'm now when I stopped playing, it was like people stopped calling, but even in my mind, it was like, man, like when you're good, you're good. Like I'm just like I don't want to play. So when you sit out a year and then when you come back, it's like, so like when was it? Or when did that switch hit you and what was it? You know what I mean? So it's always fascinating, to get there, because it's like if I'm willing to sit out. Now again, I took COVID very serious, but to me personally, I'm not sitting out no damn year.
right.
I want to play. I can't sit in, but if you can literally do that, like it's to me, it's like you almost ready. So for you, Chris, I'm gonna try to make something happen.
Hey, that sounds good to me. Love to chop it up with Eddie Goldman. So we'll see. I mean, it'll be the biggest interview in Chicago, I'm sure, because this is a guy that doesn't really seem to get in front of the mic. But I'm sure a former player reaching out to him will maybe make him change his mind. We'll see. But Eddie Goldman calls it a career at age 28. So, just saying that just sounds weird. So hopefully he's got a nice backup plan and is going to be working towards a career now after football. So again, had to give Eddie Goldman his flowers, especially seeing some of Bears Twitter shitting on the guy and his name. I mean, he was a crucial part of the 2018 team.
Well, that's Twitter though, man. Come on.
No, I know. Even some Bears analysts, Tom Thayer, former player himself of the 85 Bears. Now he's radio play-by-play with Jeff Joniak.
He's supposed to be outspoken. That's his thing.
Well, Eddie Goldman, take my flowers. Hope you enjoy them. Enjoy in retirement, and best of luck in your future endeavors. Sticking in the NFC North, DJ. We're actually going out to the NFC West, but a former tight end in the NFC North, Kyle Rudolph, formerly of the Minnesota Vikings. Last year played with the New York Giants and then got cut after some outspoken comments about the organization and his role with the team last year. He is signing a one-year deal with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Going to be catching balls now from Tom Brady. And when I seen this, I mean, I think when you see the Buccaneers signing a veteran tight end like Kyle Rudolph, first thing that came to my mind was, I wonder if Gronk is really done. I'm sure if Gronk wants to come back, it'll be an easy signing. But as of now, that's kind of what this is implying to me.
Yeah, I think Gronk is done. I mean, he didn't look that good either anyway. But Rudolph is just a carbon copy. Slow and that blocks really well, that catches really well, and randomly open really well. It's an odd ordeal. Like, why are you so slow and open? People who fast can't even get open, but you're always open. So I think they can use him literally the exact same way. And even in that division too. I mean, so I think it's good for Rudolph because I haven't heard anything about him since. I know when he was in Minnesota, it was like, man, he's really good, and then it kind of started to taper really bad. So I think he's trying to, boost his career up a little bit too. So getting down there with a, Hall of Fame quarterback, to make him look a little bit better.
Just a second, if you're still there, DJ.
Oh, I am. At first, I was looking at your face like, man, you were really impressed.
Yeah, no, sorry about that. Went to go look up some Kyle Rudolph stats, and looks like I had one too many tabs open, but
you can't do that.
So I mean, we'll see. I mean, the Buccaneers, ever since they got the commitment that Tom Brady is coming back, I mean, right away, that alone tells you that they're going to be contenders for the Super Bowl this season. Even without them, I mean, they still had a pretty nice looking roster, but as we know, it all starts with the quarterback position, and losing to Tom Brady for them would have nixed just about any Super Bowl hope that team would have had there. So they bring in a veteran tight end, Kyle Rudolph, who really hasn't been shit in the NFL for, and I say that with a grain of salt, but hasn't really been that type of an impact player here in, 3-4 years now, dating back to his Minnesota days. But we'll see. I mean, some guys playing with Tom Brady, it kind of rejuvenates their career. So we'll see if he gets a jump start.
Shot in the arm. Bing.
Right. So we'll see. Kyle Rudolph to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then lastly, the biggest news, at least today in the NFL, DJ, Arizona Cardinals signed Kyler Murray to a 5-year extension worth $230.5 million. He is now one of the highest paid NFL quarterbacks. He of that $230 million, $160 is guaranteed.
Let it rain,
or excuse me, not 160, 105 million fully guaranteed, 160 million guaranteed for injury. So needless to say, there's a lot of millions still going out his way, though. He'll be making, I believe, $46.1 million per season, which annually puts him over Deshaun Watson's $46 million per season. Obviously, we know Deshaun Watson, though, has the fully guaranteed $230 million contract where, again, Murray doesn't. But nonetheless, Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals are locked up for another 5 years together. They locked up their head coach, Cliff Kingsbury, about a month and a half ago, and now they're locking up the quarterback to him. I'm not saying Murray doesn't deserve it. He's a hell of a quarterback. He's a hell of a playmaker, very talented. But I would, if I'm the Cardinals, I'd still like to see a little bit more out of him. I'd hope there's some more growth to him and his game. But I'll tell you who was probably even more happy than Kyler Murray today, and that's Lamar Jackson, who is entering the final year of his contract. And there's been people advising him to sit out. He's been out in front saying he's not going to do that, that he's going to be playing, that but he is out looking for a new contract with the Baltimore Ravens. But I got to think he's going to be making more than this. I mean, if the Ravens don't give him more than this, then I think there's a real chance that they might lose out on Lamar Jackson here soon.
Yeah, well, because he has a particular style, and that's what people are gonna question. Like, well, you don't do this, you don't do that. But the best place in the NFL to be is a mediocre quarterback.
Chase Daniel, stand up.
You can't not even. I'm talking about like a little bit above. Like, well, I'm good for my team, and I'm making my team a little bit better because there's nothing that you can do. Like, he hasn't played well enough to get this much money. The coach hasn't even coached well enough to have an extension.
I mean, that whole franchise. I mean, you look at the general manager, Steve Kyman, what he's done in the draft, specifically with first-round draft picks.
So they made a splash, and at times during the season, they'll be up here, but then it's like nothing. But when you get to be, what's the Minnesota quarterback?
Kirk Cousins.
Great
example, right?
I'm good enough to like win a couple games, but to be honest with you, if I get rid of you, like we're all the way out of contention, so I have to pay you this money. That's why you go on the limb to get it, Deshaun Watson, because it's quarterback driven. So all you got to do is not be the bottom. Don't be the bottom tier. Just be in the middle, and you have to get paid like everybody else because that's what the market says. So if you lose this quarterback, I'm not in contention at all, and it can mess up your franchise for a long time, i.e. the Browns, if you can't find somebody. And now it's like, man, people ain't even coming to my games no more. So he does have the talent, yes. He does flash at times where he just looks really awesome. But for this amount of money, like to me, Lamar Jackson has performed because he takes a beating.
And not only has he performed, the team is winning with Lamar.
Yeah, the team, has won. So when he's really putting his body out there. I mean, he don't slide. He like he hard nosed. Like we out here, we with it. Man, he ain't even sitting out. He like, hey, I'm gonna be here.
Yep.
And
he was there in OTAs and all that.
Yeah. So again, I think if somebody deserves it, really, like I've played, I've been out here. I've essentially been the face of the league.
Right.
So
we're on the opposite end. Kyler Murray was already, and Kyler Murray has 2 more years left on his deal. Lamar's entering the final year of his deal, where Kyler Murray was already throwing.
I would think so. Again, having this happen, and him probably talking to his mom and even the team, they got to be like, hey, man, like. And I think coaches and everybody be thinking the same thing, like, hey, man, like, y'all, what we going to do? Like, get this cat this money. Now, do you put something in it because he runs a lot? You know what I mean? For that potential, I guess. I don't know. Right. But if he gets paid with 2 years left, and I've been out here performing, and you ain't really did nothing, and the coach ain't really did anything, and they getting paid? Come on, man. Show me the money.
Yeah, I mean, this is absolutely the conversation starter right here. I mean, you could bring up even Deshaun Watson's contract. Hey, you're not hearing a peep about my name being in any type of trouble. Here's his contract. Here's Murray's contract. Let's make something happen. So we'll see. I mean, I got to think that gets settled. If not before the season, then I'm not entirely sure what Baltimore is doing now. I know that just because he's entering the final year of his contract doesn't necessarily mean this is, even if he wants out of Baltimore, that he'll be out of Baltimore. We've seen what Washington did with Kirk Cousins years ago, where they used the franchise tag on him, not once, but 2 years in a row, which is the max that you could tag a player before allowing him to reach free agency. So will this be Lamar Jackson's final year in Baltimore? Very unlikely, but we'll see. I mean, certainly some conversations need to be had about his contract, especially with the news 5 years, $230 million for Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals. Speaking of both the Browns and the Cardinals, former Cardinals first-round draft pick Josh Rosen inks a 1-year deal with the Cleveland Browns. Of course, Kyler Murray was drafted a year after Rosen was selected in the first round. Talk about great general managering, Steve Keim and the Arizona Cardinals. So we'll see if Rosen will be getting any snaps during the regular season. That's if he makes the team there in Cleveland. But yeah, that'll actually wrap it up, DJ, unless there's any other notes or nuggets that you want to touch on around the NFL.
We good, man. We done made it.
All right. Well, that'll do it for another episode of the Chris and DJ Show with former Bear himself, DJ Moore. I'm Chris Shanafelt. Before we wrap it up, DJ, before we end the show, got to do it. Final word from DJ Moore. What's the word of wisdom?
Final words. You got to grow up. I got 4 kids,
and I want the enthusiasm that you give on Instagram. Come on, DJ.
This is how I'm gonna give it, because this is what I'm about to do. I always wing it, so I'm about to do that. You have to grow up. I got 4 kids, and I love to watch them grow up. I put marks on the wall and watch them grow and grow and grow. But as an adult, you can't really see it. You can't say, "Hey, man, as an adult, man, my brain grew 5 teeth this week." So in order to develop and get to that next step, you got to be able to grow, man. And if you stuck somewhere doing something, it's because you ain't growing. And if you ain't growing, ain't nothing going for you. So if you want money, success, whatever it is you want, you got to grow. You got to get on some new skin. And once you get in that new skin, you get some new perspective. And then it'll happen for you.
That'll do it. Wisdom from DJ Moore himself. Again, appreciate everybody for tuning in, whether it's the live stream on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, whether you're listening to us tomorrow or any time that this is recorded live on Spotify, iTunes, etc. Appreciate it. Leave us a thumbs up, subscribe, and be sure to tell your friends, be sure to tell your families, and tune in every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time, 8 p.m. Central time. Follow us on Twitter at Chris and DJ Show. And then him personally, you see his tag there at DJ Moore 30. I'm at Chris Shanafelt. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Again, players report to training camp in just 5 days. So we'll be back next week. We'll have 2 practices in to talk about. So be sure to be there Thursday night, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. Again, appreciate everybody for tuning in, and